Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to make this dress. If this is what you like to learn, please come on and let's dive into the tutorial. So please subscribe, like and share my page. Thank you. So the first thing I'll be doing is to mark my shoulder line, which is 7 inches. After marking my shoulder line, I came down by 8 inches, which is for my shoulder, my armhole, 7 inches plus 1 shoulder plus 1 inch for shoulder slope. So I'll be connecting the lines just like so. I'll connect it just like so. Then I'll come in by 3 inches, 3 by 3 inches, 3 inches width and depth for my neckline. I'll mark it just like that. I'll mark it just like that. I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope and I'll connect the line just like so. I'll come down by 9.5 for the bust I'm working with, which is the bust line for the bust I'm working with. It's a small size, as you can see. I'll come down by 3 inches for the under bust line. You can come down by 3.5 or 4. It depends on the bust you're working with. So the waistline I'm working with is 15 inches and I'll mark it just right here to make sure that I have a straight line, and I'll connect the line just like so. Waist to hip, I have 7.5 inches right there and I'll connect it. I've marked my 7.5 inches because it's a small size, that is why. If it's a big size, you can come down by 8 or 9, depends on the size of the hip you're working with. So I'll come down by 38 inches for the length of the dress. I'll mark it on this same line as well to ensure that we have a straight line, and I'll connect it just like so. So the next thing I'll be doing now is to mark what I have right here, and I'll divide it by 2. I got the midpoint and come in by 1/2 inch. Then I'll connect the armhole line just like this. Then I'll mark my chest line, bust line, on the bust line, waistline, hip line, and my hem line in case of the beginners, just for the sake of the beginners that are watching. So I'll come in by 3.5 inches for the nipple to nipple measurement. I'll come in like so. I'll mark it from the bust measurement all the way down to the hem line, just as you can see. I'm marking it now, and I'm going to connect the lines. I'll mark it on my chest, on my bust line. I'll connect the line just like that, as you can see. Then I came down by 1 inch from my bust line. My waistline on this part, I'll come in by 1/2 inch. Then on the other parts, I'm coming out by 1.5 inch, just like this. From the hip line, I came in by 2 inches. I'll connect the line just like this. Just like this. As you can see, just connect it like this, 1/2 inch on this part and 1.5 inch on this part. It depends on the bust you're working with. This is a small size I'm working with, that's why I'm making use of 2 inches. You can make use of 3 inches altogether or 2.5, it depends. So I'll connect it to my under bust like this. Then the next thing I'll do is I'm trying to connect my chest line, so I want to measure it to make sure that we have a straight line. So I'll connect it just like that. And I'll come down, I'll divide my shoulder slope by 2. What I have there, I'll connect it from that line to the bust line. Just like that. I'll come up by 1.5 inch from this side, from my chest line, 1.5 inch from the upper part. I'll mark it just like that. I'll come out by 1/2 inch on both sides on that part, and I'll connect it to my bust line just like so. I'll do the same thing for the other side. You can make use of 3/4 inch if you are working with a bigger bust. I'm working with a small bust, that's why I'm making use of 1/2 inch on both sides. It depends on the bust you're working with. do what suits you. I'll come down by 1 inch on that side to get my cleavage depth. So you can come down by 2 inches, 1.5. It depends on how obvious you want your cleaver line to be obvious. So on this part, I'll measure what I have there to make sure that I'm having the same thing on the 2 lines to ensure that they are matching, so that I will not have any shortage on that part. So they are matching, and I'll collect it just like so. So the next thing I'll do now is for my chest line, I'm marking my bust line, and I have 8.5 plus 1 inch for the darts, which gives me 9.5 inches, and I'll connect it to my armhole just like so. So the next thing I'll be doing is to get my waist measurement. The waist measurement I'm working with is 7 inches plus 2 inches for my darts. So that is 9 inches, and I'll connect it to my bust line just like that. Then I'll go to my hip line. There is no dart on the hip line, and the hip line I'm working with is 9.5 inches. I'll mark my 9.5 inches right there, and I'll connect it just like this. So the curve is not coming out well because I've not snatched that area. By the time I snatch the area, the curve on the hip side would come out. So I'll measure what I have on my hip line and mark the same thing on the M line, just as you are seeing it, like so. And I'll connect the line just like this. After that, I'll come down by 4 inches from my waistline and 2.5 inches from my hip line. I come down by 2.5 inches from the hip line and 4 inches from the waistline, and I'll connect it just like this for my gathered parts. The gathered part of the skirt, of the dress, of the down part of the dress, I'll connect it just like so. And this is basically everything about the front part, and I'll be cutting it just like this, as you can see. Please follow the way I'm cutting it and make sure that you cut it just like this. Please ensure that you add your allowances before you cut on the fabric. And if you are cutting on the fabric directly, please ensure that you add your allowances before cutting. There is no allowances whatsoever added to this pattern. Please do not make the mistake. Please subscribe, like, share my videos, and post on your notification bell to ensure that you can get our videos as soon as we upload. This is all about the front part. And now we are heading to the back part. So I've marked my basic lines on the back, as you can see, 3x3 by what we have here, what we have in the front part, just my zipper part allowance, which is 1.5 inches. Everything is just the same, and my armhole area, no coming in by 1/2 inch. So the next thing I'll be doing is I'll place my front part on the back part like this, and make sure that they are connecting, they are on the straight line. As you can see that they are matching just like this, just to get the down part, just tape it down like this. And the next thing you do is just to mark out the sides, mark it out this way. Mark it out this way, just trace it out. You can make use of a tracing wheel if you have one. So just trace it out like this and make sure that you have the same thing on the front pattern, on the back pattern, and get that point. And then in the middle of the part like that, you can just get that point like that, so we can have a correct line and get it here as well. So after getting all that, I'll remove the front pattern from the back pattern, and I'll get the lines like so. So I'll come in by 3.5 all the way down and all the way up as well. 3.5 inches for our 3.5 inches for our nipple to nipple measurement. This is what we are having here right now. So the next thing I'll do is to connect it with my ruler all the way down, just like we have done in the front pattern. all the way down just like this. And now I'll come in by 1/2 inch on both sides just like this. Come up by 2.5 inches from the hip line, down by 1 inch from the chest line, and I'll connect those lines just like this. Please, I hope you understand everything I've taught. If there's any issue that you're having, like if there's any part you don't understand, please just let me know in the comment section. So I'll be marking my bust measurements, and I'll mark it just like so. Waist measurements plus 1 inch, 8 inches. So I'll connect it like so, and connect it to my hip line as well, just like this. And the next thing I'll be doing now is to get the cuff area. So we came down by 4 inches from the upper part, and the point that I marked is still right there. So you connect it like this, just as we have done in the front part. You connect it just like this, and then you blend that area to make sure that there's no sharp edge around there. So the next thing I'll be doing is to, please make sure the waist measurement that I have here, I'm sorry I forgot to let you know, is 14 inches. The waist measurement we have at the upper part is 15, and the waist measurement I'm going to be having here right here is 14 inches. So I came in by 1/2 inch from my zipper allowance to avoid any zipper bulge. What I marked there is more than what I wanted. I wasn't seeing it clearly, so I remarked and make sure that it's not going up too much. So I'll connect the same thing to my hip line. I have 14 inches on my waistline. 1 inch, you're going to minus 1 inch from the waistline, from the one that we have at the front part. So the front waistline is 15, while the back waistline is 14 inches. So that will be all for the back. Okay, I want to style the back area, so I'll come down by 1 inch from the chest line, and I'll connect it just like this. As you can see, you can style it however you want it. You can leave it straight like that, and at the same time you can come down more if you wish. So I'll connect it into my zip line just like that, and I'll be cutting it out now. You can see where I'm cutting now because I do not need the yoke. I do not need the yoke area. That is why I'm cutting it from here, right here, like this. Cutting it all the way down. Please watch the way I'm cutting it now. I do not need the yoke area, so just cut it that way. Cut it like this, all the way down. Just like this. Cut it. Please subscribe to my channel. We are going to be uploading more videos that you'll be able to learn from. So we are done with the back pattern, and this is what we have after cutting. So I've cut it on my fabric now. The fabric I'm making use of here is a Mikado fabric, and what I made use of for the dress is 2.5 inches. So I added 1/2 inch on that. I notched the waist area. I added 1/2 inches round and 1 inch at the hem line. The same thing I did for this area, 1/2 inch round on the part. I notched the waistline as well. So just that part, and 1.5 inch by the side. I did the same thing right on the back pattern here, 1/2 inch round. On the zipper allowance, I did not add anything because it already had its allowance. 1/2 inch round at the upper part at the side, and 1 inch at the hem line. So the side of the back, I mark 1/2 inch right there, 1/2 inch round. I mark my waistline, and 1.5 inch by the side. And now we are heading to the gathered area. So this is the pattern from the front and the back of one side. The front and the back of one side. Please, I hope you understand. I have 6 inches on the lines just like this, as you can see. I'm going to divide it by 3, and I have 2 inches on one paper. we are going to be making use of the slash and spread method. So I'm going to do it like this, and I'm going to 2 inches. What I did on the first part, I'm doing it on the second part as well now. So I have 2 inches right like this, and I'm going to number it. Please ensure that you number it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. After numbering it, you slash it into different patterns just like this, and we're going to have 6 papers like so. Please, if there's anywhere you do not understand, please ask questions. I'm willing to respond and answer you. Please ensure that you understand just like this. So I'll be placing my fabric now. My fabric is on fold, so I'll be using 10 inches differences on each patterns, which makes me have 60 inches for the width of my fabric now, and the length is, I just measured 22 inches for the length. So I have ½ inch up the upper part and 1 inch for the hemline. So just place it like so. Make sure the difference you have it. It depends on the fabric you're working with. If the fabric you're working with is smaller, you can just reduce the space. So I'm working because I have enough fabric. That's why I'm making use of 10 inches. You can actually add more to it. You can use 12, you can use 15. It depends on the fabric that you have. So I'm doing this now. I'm going to ensure that I have ½ inch at the upper part to join to the dress. ½ inch allowance. Just mark it like so. Follow the pattern and mark it just like so. Follow the pattern and mark it just like so to get to the edge there. Right there at the edge, I have ½ inch allowance to join to the dress as well. Just do it this way, and you're going to do the same thing on the other parts. So I have the 6 papers right here on, as you can see. So you're going to mark it just that way to the other side as well. Please be careful and make sure that you have allowance at this upper part here, and you mark it to the other side just like so. That is number 1, just like this. And I'm going to remove the papers now. If you are a beginner, please do not remove the paper before cutting, so you can trace the way you're going to cut it. But if you can do without it, you can just cut it out just like this, the way I'm doing. Just cutting it out like this, and I have 2 fabric there. I'll be uploading the sewing parts next. So I do not want this video to be too long. That's why I'm not uploading. I'm going to divide it into 2, and I'll be uploading the sewing parts as soon as possible. So we have 2 patterns here. I'll notch the middle just like this, and I'll trace. Just make sure that you cut it and make sure that they are matching just like this. Now we have 2 pieces of fabric this way, and we are done cutting. Thank you. This is what we have. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Bye. See you on the next one.